The thing about dashcam footage is that it doesn't lie. It doesn't misremember. It doesn't rationalize what it saw or talk itself out of it by morning. It just records. And sometimes what it records has no explanation that will let you sleep comfortably again. Story 1. The Woman on Route 9. I've been a long-haul trucker for 19 years. I've driven through every kind of weather, every kind of night. I don't spook easy. I'm putting this here because I don't know what else to do with it. And my wife says I need to get it out of my head. This happened on Route 9, heading through rural upstate New York, around 2:40 in the morning last October. I was making a standard run, nothing unusual, just me and the road, and the hiss of the CB radio. My dashcam, a Vantru N4, runs continuously. I've had it for 3 years and never once looked back at the footage unless I needed it for insurance. About 40 miles outside of Catskill, my headlights caught something on the shoulder. A woman, standing completely still, facing the road. Not walking, not waving, just standing there in a white nightgown with her arms at her sides. I slowed down because you slow down when you see a person on the highway at that hour. Could be a breakdown, could be someone in trouble. As I got closer, I could see she was barefoot, in October, on gravel. I pulled over about 30 yards past her and sat there for a second, hazards on, watching my mirrors. She hadn't moved. I called 911, told them there was a woman on the side of Route 9 who looked like she might be in distress. They said they'd send a unit. Here's where it gets bad. I re-watched the dashcam footage when I got home 3 days later. On the recording, as I'm slowing down, you can see the woman clearly. White gown, long dark hair, face turned toward the truck. But then, and I've watched this maybe 60 times now, right as my headlights passed directly over her. She isn't there anymore. Not like she walked away. Not like she stepped back. She's there, and then she isn't. One frame she exists. The next frame, my lights are hitting empty gravel. I called the county sheriff's department to ask if anyone had been picked up or found on Route 9 that night. The deputy I spoke to paused for a long time before telling me that stretch of road had a fatality in 2019. A woman whose car broke down was struck by a passing vehicle. She was found barefoot on the gravel shoulder in her pajamas because she'd been sleeping in the back seat when the car died. I sold the truck 6 weeks later. I don't drive at night anymore. Story 2. The face in the back seat. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that this footage exists. I still have it, and I have never been able to explain it. I'm a nurse. I work nights at a hospital in Central Florida. My commute is 40 minutes each way through mostly empty suburban roads. I installed a dashcam with a cabin-facing interior lens about 2 years ago after a fender bender, the kind that faces inward and records the inside of the car along with the road ahead, split screen. I drove home alone at 4:15 a.m. on a Tuesday in March. I remember the specific date because it was my mother's birthday. I was tired, thinking about calling her in the morning, listening to a podcast about true crime of all things. When I got home, I went straight to bed. I didn't review the footage. 3 weeks later, my Dashcam app flagged that my storage was almost full and prompted me to review and delete old files. I sat down with a cup of coffee and started going through clips. When I got to the file from that Tuesday morning, I hit play. For the first 20 minutes, everything is normal. Me driving, the dark road, the podcast playing faintly. Then at the 23-minute mark, the interior lens picks up something in the back seat. Face. Not a shadow, not a reflection. A face, pale and indistinct but unmistakably human. Positioned as if someone were sitting directly behind the driver's seat, slightly reclined, watching the back of my head. It's there for 11 seconds. I counted. Then it's gone. I checked every logical explanation. The windows were up and dark tinted. No outside light source could have projected a reflection like that. There was nobody in my car. I am absolutely certain of that. I live alone. I am the only one with a key. I remember locking my doors before I started driving because I always lock my doors. It's a habit I've had since I was mugged in college. What haunts me most isn't the face itself. It's that in the footage, for those 11 seconds, you can see me. You can see me driving, completely unaware. You can see the back of my head. And whatever that thing was in my back seat, it was watching me the way something watches prey. Patient, still, waiting. I have not driven alone at night since. Story 3. The hitchhiker who wasn't there. This was posted to a paranormal forum in 2021, and I've been thinking about it for 3 years. The user went by the handle m_driving and said he was a rideshare driver in rural Tennessee. He picked up what appeared to be a hitchhiker standing on the side of a county road at around midnight, not through the app. Just a person with their thumb out, and he says he stopped because the man looked elderly and it was cold. The man got in the back seat. M_driving said he could see him in the rear-view mirror, gray-haired, wearing overalls, smiling pleasantly. They had a conversation. The old man said he was trying to get to a town about 12 miles up the road. M_driving said the conversation was completely normal, friendly. The old man talked about the weather, about his farm, about how his grandson was coming to visit that weekend. When they reached the town, M_driving pulled over and told the old man they were there. No response from the back seat. He looked in the rearview mirror. Empty. He turned around. The car was empty. The door had not opened. He had not heard a door open. The car was still moving at 5 miles per hour when he felt the shift in the air, the strange, sudden sense of a presence simply ceasing to be. He pulled over and sat on the side of the road for 20 minutes with his hazard lights on. The dashcam footage, which he uploaded to the forum with his post, is what broke me. You can hear his voice clearly on the audio, having a full back-and-forth conversation, responding, laughing at one point, saying, yeah, I know what you mean. The interior camera shows the back seat, empty, the entire time. He's alone in the car, talking to no one, for 12 miles, and he does not know it. The post got over 4,000 comments before he deleted his account. Someone in the thread identified the road and found a local news article from 1987 about an elderly farmer who died of a heart attack while walking along that same county road in winter, trying to get to the next town. His name was printed in the article. M_driving confirmed in one of his last replies before he went dark that when he told the old man his name during the drive, it matched. Story 4. Mile marker Indian 217. A woman named Priya posted this on a Reddit thread about paranormal experiences, with the dashcam file attached. The thread was removed 3 days later. Oh, I saved a transcript. Priya was driving home from visiting her sister in a neighboring state, a 6-hour solo drive she'd made a dozen times before. It was late afternoon when she started, so by hour 3 it was fully dark. She said she felt fine, alert, drinking coffee from a thermos. At mile marker 217 on the interstate, something ran across the road in front of her. She hit the brakes hard. She described it as running on 2 legs but bent wrong, the knees facing the opposite direction, the arms too long, the movement too fast to be any animal she recognized. She said it crossed from the left shoulder to the right and disappeared into the tree line in under 2 seconds. She sat in her lane for a moment, heart pounding, then kept driving. She told herself it was a deer. It was probably just a deer, and the headlights had distorted it. She got home. She didn't look at the dashcam footage that night. She looked at it the next morning. The footage showed the highway, her headlights, the dark tree line. Then it shows the shape, and it is worse on camera than she remembered it. It is not a deer. Whatever it is upright and pale, and it moves in a way that your brain refuses to fully process, the way something moves when the mechanics of it don't follow any biology you've learned. But that isn't the worst part. The worst part is what happens after she drives past it. The rear-facing camera, a feature she'd forgotten her dashcam even had. The one that records behind the car shows the road she just came from. For about 4 seconds after she passes mile marker 217, the shape is visible again. On the road, behind her car, standing still now, in the center of the lane, facing the direction her car is heading, watching her leave. It does not move again before it disappears from the frame. It simply stands there, in the middle of an interstate highway at 9 o'clock at night, watching her drive away. Priya said in her post that she drove to a mechanic the next week and had the rear camera physically removed from her car. She said she couldn't handle knowing it was there, recording what was behind her, and she wasn't willing to look at the footage again. Story 5. The Last Stop. This one I found on a private Facebook group for paranormal researchers. The man who posted it, I'll call him Dennis because he used a partial name, was a night security guard who drove to and from a remote industrial facility 5 nights a week. 20-minute drive each way, through an area that was mostly empty fields, and one long 2-lane road with no streetlights. Dennis had installed a dashcam because deer were a serious collision risk on that stretch. He'd reviewed footage maybe twice in 2 years, Once when he thought he hit something. Once when a coworker borrowed his car. In August, he started having the feeling that something was wrong on the drive home. He couldn't explain it, couldn't point to anything specific, just a feeling. The kind of feeling you get when the hairs on the back of your neck rise for no reason you can name. He chalked it up to fatigue. Night security is lonely work and does things to your head. Then one morning, getting into his car to drive home at 6 a.m., he noticed his dashcam had a red light on it he'd never seen before. A storage warning, the card nearly full. Cleared some space, drove home, and decided that night to go through the old footage just to have it done. He found that on the road home, across 7 separate nights spanning 3 weeks, his dashcam had recorded the same figure, at the same point in the road, every single time. A tall, thin shape standing in the field just off the left shoulder, just beyond where his headlights reached. It was barely visible. You had to turn the brightness all the way up, and even then it was more of an impression than an image. A vertical darkness against the flat dark of the field. But it was there on night 1, and night 4, and night 5, 6, 9, 12, and 14. Dennis said he went back through more footage, further back, before the storage warnings. The shape appeared on nights going back months. He had been driving past it for months. What made people in the comments go quiet, what made me go quiet, was what Dennis said next. On the most recent night it appeared, he'd turned on his high beams right as he passed that spot because a deer had moved in the ditch nearby. The high beams swept across the field for just a moment. In that moment, the shape is briefly, partially illuminated. It has no face. Where a face would be, there's just a smooth, pale surface, featureless as the inside of an eggshell, turned toward the road. And it is closer than it was the first night, closer than it was the second. In each successive recording, it is a little closer to the shoulder, a little closer to the road. Dennis left that job, moved 2 states away, and asked the group to please not tag him in responses or share the footage beyond the group. Whether someone did or not, I can't say. The post has since been deleted. Like so many of the things that make you start checking your own dashcam footage before bed and then wishing, deeply and completely, that you hadn't. Drive safe, and maybe don't look too hard at what your camera catches in the dark. If you made it to the end of this one, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and ring the bell for notifications. New stories every week, and share this with someone you want to scare tonight.